Good afternoon, and welcome to Kettering Fairmont High School. My name is Chris Weaver, Athletic Director, and it was great honor and privilege to welcome you to the 23rd Annual Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Mother Nature certainly threw us a curveball the last couple days. We were disappointed. The game was postponed last evening. However, we are so thankful to our outstanding custodians and grounds department for their countless hours cleaning sidewalks and parking lots so we could be here today. We hope you can join us later tonight in Trent Arena for the rescheduled boys basketball game versus Centerville. Currently, the Firebirds are ranked number 4 in the state of Ohio and Centerville number 1, and are also the defending state champions. It should be an awesome atmosphere. During halftime of the varsity game, we will also honor our inductees from this afternoon. Today, we bestow the highest honor a former Dragon, Falcon, and Firebird can earn. These individuals made tremendous sacrifices and commitments to the athletic programs and set the standard for our current and future Firebird coaches, athletes, as well as the Kettering community. I would like to thank our Hall of Fame selection committee who spends countless hours gathering information on nominees. Each year I look forward to working with our committee as we review, discuss, and select our Hall of Fame class. This committee takes the responsibility of the selection process very seriously, and their commitment is a big part of what makes Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame so special. Coaches of the past and present will always hold a special place in our hearts. Without their mentorship and guidance, many of us would not be where we are today. We have many who make it a point to come back each year and celebrate this wonderful day, and I want to thank you for your commitment to the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame. Additionally, with the support and financial commitment from the Fairmont Athletic Boosters, this day would not be possible. Our president, Mr. Doug Hollinger, and the executive committee offers a tremendous amount of support to our parents, coaches, and athletes and community. Thank you for your time and commitment to the Firebirds. Before I turn things over to Mr. Alexander, I wanted to remind and encourage everyone to take a couple minutes to visit the Fairmont Pride display in Trent Arena the next time you're in there, perhaps even this evening. Without question, the athletic history in our past runs very deep and is filled with tremendous accomplishments, some of which you will hear and celebrate today. The goal has been to bring these stories to your fingertips anytime, any place, and I'm happy to share that we're continuing to improve this experience for everyone yearly. The Fairmont Pride Wall, which is physically located in Trent Arena on the south end, is an interactive display showcasing the achievements of our Fairmont athletes past and present. The added feature, and the one I love most, is that all of this can be accessed online as well by going to our website, firebirdathletics.com, and clicking on Hall of Fame from the More drop-down menu. The evolution of sports and social media continues to advance at lightning speed, and we believe by bringing the Fairmont Pride Wall online, it will help us connect, share, and celebrate our wonderful history. So on behalf of the Fairmont Athletic Department, we hope you enjoy the ceremony, and at this time I'd like to introduce the principal of Kettering Fairmont High School, Mr. Tyler Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver, and thank you to everyone for coming here this afternoon. And thank you for joining us today for this great event to recognize some of the top athletes and coaches to ever walk the halls of a Kettering high school. The history and success of our student athletes is a huge reason Fairmont is recognized across the state of Ohio as a destination place to receive a top education and to compete at the highest level athletically. It takes great leadership, hard work, and dedication to run a district that takes pride in educating and creating opportunities for every student that walks through our doors. The leadership starts at the top, and I would like to recognize these folks this afternoon. First, our superintendent, Mr. Scott Inskeep, who is in the back. Let's give him a round of applause. And our board members, some of which are here this afternoon, Mr. Jim Ambrose, Mrs. Lori Parks, Toby Henderson, Mark Martin, and Jennifer Kane. Let's give them a round of applause. New inductees, congratulations on being enshrined into a group of student athletes that have helped mold Fairmont High School into what it is today, and a group that takes pride in being a Firebird, Dragon, or Falcon. Thank you for all you have done for the Kettering City School District, and especially Fairmont High School. At this time, I would like to introduce Hall of Fame committee member, Mr. Roger Bowser. Thank you.
At this time in today's ceremonies, we'd like to pause for a few moments to remember all of those Fairmont athletes inducted into the Hall of Fame who have passed away over the years. These ladies and gentlemen are listed in your programs, marked with a double asterisk in the list of all of the Hall of Fame inductees. They are also memorialized at a table in the lobby. 5 members of our Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame have passed away since our last ceremony in 2021, and we would like to pay special tribute to them today. Robert Bob Pugh. Bob died on April 12, 2020, at the age of 84. Bob was a 1954 graduate of Fairmont High School and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2003. While at Fairmont, Bob started every football game as a junior and senior. He received all-league and all-area first-team honors and third-team All-Ohio recognition. And he was part of 3 consecutive Miami Valley League championship teams. Bob was also the recipient of the Charles Rogers Finley Award as the outstanding senior male athlete. Bob received both his bachelor's and his master's degrees from Miami University. He taught and coached in Kettering for 8 years and then spent a long and successful career in business until his retirement. Bob was a devoted family man, an active church member throughout his life, and a frequent volunteer in many different capacities in the Bellbrook schools and the Bellbrook community. Coach Pete Ankney. Pete died on September 27, 2020, at the age of 89. Pete graduated from Fairmont High School in 1949 and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005. While at Fairmont, Pete lettered in football, basketball, and track. After graduating from the University of Dayton, he returned to Fairmont in 1957 as a part of the football coaching staff. He became head coach in both football and track. His 1959 Dragon team won the Miami Valley League Championship with an undefeated 9-0 season, ranking as high as 3rd in the state and giving up only 7 points during the entire season. Pete moved on from Fairmont to become head coach at both Canton-McKinley High School and the University of Dayton. He and his wife, Mary, were married for 70 years. They were the grandparents of 9 and the great-grandparents of 9 more. After coaching, Pete was a very successful businessman until his retirement. Coach Robert Bob Chapman. Bob Chapman passed away on June 20th, 2021, at the age of 84 after a very long illness. Bob was a founding member of our Hall of Fame Selection Committee, serving from 1999 to 2004. and he was a member of the Charter Hall of Fame induction class in 2000. Bob served for 30 years as a coach in Kettering, as a football assistant at Fairmont East for 10 years, as the head baseball coach at Fairmont East for 19 years, and as head baseball coach at Kettering Fairmont for 6 more years. He helped organize the Miami Valley Baseball Coaches Association and served as its first president. Bob's teams won 7 Western Ohio League championships and finished in the top 4 for 20 of his 25 coaching baseball years. He had a career record of 386 wins and 206 losses, a 65% winning percentage. His 1971 Fairmont East team made it all the way to the state championship final game, only to lose a heartbreaker in the final inning to Findlay High School. Bob is also a member of the Miami Valley Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame, the Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and he was honored for his outstanding career as a math teacher with his induction into Kettering's Chester Roush Education Hall of Fame. Richard Dick Hoppy. Dick Hoppy died on July 24th, 2021, at the age of 82. Dick was a 1957 graduate of Fairmont, graduated from Ohio Wesleyan, and earned his master's degree at Miami. At Fairmont, as an athlete, Dick lettered 3 times in both football and track. He was a rare athlete and coach at Fairmont High School. He's a Hall of Fame member, and he was both a successful Fairmont athlete and a Fairmont coach. Dick was a founding member of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee and was inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame as a charter member in 2000. As head football coach from 1968 to 78, his Dragon teams had a record of 66 wins, 33 losses, and 3 ties. He guided the 1974 and 75 teams to Western Ohio League championships, and his 74 team was 10-0, the last Fairmont football team to go undefeated. They were ranked high in the state all season long, and Dick Hoppy was named Southwestern District Coach of the Year. Dick's passion for preserving Fairmont's rich football tradition was evidenced as he authored a book called The Golden Years of Dragon Football, celebrating the 50th anniversary of football, and he co-authored The Kettering Fairmont Tradition in honor of the 75th anniversary. Dick was a man of high character, honor, and dignity. His teams were tough and disciplined, and he taught his players good sportsmanship, winning with humility and losing with grace. After his retirement, he returned to coaching with stints at Alter High School, Waynesville High School, and Naples, Florida High School. Coach Larry McVeigh. Larry died on July 7th, 2021, at the age of 84. Larry started coaching in Kettering in 1960 as an assistant on the football staff. In 1969, he became a Fairmont East assistant wrestling coach. And from 1970 to 83, he was assistant football coach and head wrestling coach. From 1983 to 92, he served in those same positions at Kettering Fairmont High School. At one time in his career, he was named the KO Times Coach of the Year, the Greater Miami Valley Wrestling Coaches Association Coach of the Year, and a member of that association's Hall of Fame. He had the second most wins as a wrestling coach in school history. He coached 5 state place winners, 6 district champions, 18 sectional champions, 22 league champions, a second place state winner, his own son David in 1980, and a state champion, Chris Gelvin, in 1984. Both David and Chris are also in our Athletic Hall of Fame. Larry was an advocate of PMA, positive mental attitude, and he practiced it daily. His bright smile and his hearty laugh and his "How you doing, bub?" were fixtures in the Fairmont hallways. He was a member of the Kettering Toastmasters, the Dorwood Optimist Club, and he was a regular attendee at the Saturday men's breakfast at Fairhaven Church. And we are honored today. Larry's wife, Marlene, and his daughter, Ann, are with us in the audience, and I'd like to ask them to stand, please. These 5 distinguished Hall of Fame members, along with all of the others that we have lost from the Hall of Fame over the years, were great influences in the lives of young people and vital contributors to life in their communities. They will be missed by their families, their friends, their communities, and this Fairmont athletic family of which they were such an important part. Thank you for taking these moments to remember Bob Pugh, Pete Ankeny, Bob Chapman, Dick Hoppy, and Larry McVeigh, and all of those Hall of Fame members who are no longer with us. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Larry Lamb, Hall of Fame committee member.
Good afternoon. Since 1999, the success of the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame has been made possible by the selfless efforts of so many friends and volunteers. We appreciate and recognize these valuable contributors, some of whom are with us today. As your name is called, please rise and remain standing until all are named. Please hold your applause until the end. Dave Hullinger, President, Fairmont Athletic Boosters, who have been our primary financial underwriter since our inception. Charlie Sherholz of Sherholz Printing Incorporated, who print our programs every year at no cost. Diana Roberts of Hills and Dales Florists, who provide the flowers every year for our inductees. Johnny Schumacher, who served on the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for 11 years. Mickey Morgan, former Kettering Fairmont Athletic Director and original Selection Committee member. Beth Duncan, Fairmont graduate, who donated the Hall of Fame polo shirts for our inductees. Carol Lamb, who volunteered her time to photograph the induction weekend activities. Life Touch Photography, who takes the professional portraits of our inductees. Dave Moles, who for many years was our professional photographer for induction weekend. Dave Nogel, longtime booster and volunteer. City of Kettering, who provides the proclamation certificates to our inductees. Kettering Fairmont National Honor Society students who volunteered to help at today's induction ceremony. Laura Hutchins, Scott Leo, and the Fairmont Interactive Media Program students who videotaped this morning's inductee interviews and who are videotaping today's induction ceremony. John Gentry, the Performing Arts Facility Manager, and his student volunteers who helped with stage setup and who oversee all of the sound and projection systems during today's ceremony. John also went the extra mile to set up a Zoom interview with Mr. Hank Bias. Our Hall of Fame Selection Committee members who worked tirelessly to make this weekend a memorable experience for our inductees. Their profiles are on the back inside cover of the program. Let's have a nice round of applause for all of these people who have helped us make today possible. Now switching gears, we'd like to recognize current members attending today's ceremony. We are honored to have with us today a number of current Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame members. Thanks to each of you for your extraordinary contributions to the rich tradition of high school athletics in Kettering. And thank you for attending our induction ceremony today. As I read your name, please stand and remain standing until all the members have been introduced. We ask that you please hold your applause until the end. Ryan Reed, Kettering Fairmont, class of 1995. Terry Bell, Fairmont East, class of 1980. Tom Bell, Fairmont East, class of 1980. Peanut Burns, Fairmont East, class of 1979. Nanette Heeb, Fairmont West, class of 1979. Brenda Zimmer, Fairmont East, class of 1978. Monica Kiefer, Fairmont East, class of 1976. Pat McDermott, Fairmont West, class of 1974. Tim Ireland, Fairmont West, class of 1971. Phil Baker, Fairmont West, class of 1967. Coach Fran Eden, Fairmont West and Kettering Fairmont. Fran started coaching in 1967. Coach Neil Sharsky, Fairmont East and Kettering Fairmont. Neil started coaching in 1963. And Harry Kiefer, Fairmont, class of 1952. Did I miss anyone? Let's have a nice round of applause for these current members of the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame. And now I'll turn the microphone over to our pinch hitter today, Scott Byer, who at the last minute had this dumped in his lap to take the place of Mr. Rusty Clifford, who couldn't be here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Once again, on behalf of the City of Kettering, the Kettering City Schools, the Fairmont Athletic Department, and the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, welcome to the 23rd Annual Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. The Hall of Fame charter class covered the first 2 years of inductions, 1999 and 2000, and included 57 inductees, 51 athletes, and 6 coaches. To date, there are a total of 166 Hall of Fame inductees, 23 specials, and 143 athletes. The Fairmont Hall of Fame now inducts 4 to 6 total per year, athletes and/or specials. To be eligible to qualify to be in the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, you must be an athlete who has graduated from one of the Kettering high schools, Fairmont, Fairmont West, Fairmont East, or Kettering Fairmont, and lettered in one sport for 2 years, or 2 or more sports for 1 year. Athletes become eligible for inclusion in the Hall of Fame 10 years after their respective high school graduation. Also eligible to qualify to be in the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame are specials. Specials include a coach, administrator, or support person. Specials must have served in their respective coaching, administrator, or supporting role for a minimum of 5 years and become eligible for inclusion in the Hall of Fame 5 years after their retirement. The community of Kettering and its city schools have a long and storied history. From 1922 to 1963, 41 years, we were the Fairmont Dragons. From 1963 to 1983, 20 years, we were the Fairmont West Dragons and Fairmont East Falcons. And from 1983 to 2022, for the past 39 years, we have been and continue to be the Kettering Fairmont Firebirds. This year, 2022, marks 100 years of the pride, honor, and tradition that is Fairmont. The athletes inducted into the Hall of Fame span 81 total years, 1927 to 2007, and include 40 athletes from Fairmont, 58 athletes from Fairmont East and Fairmont West, and 45 athletes from Kettering Fairmont. Hall of Fame athletes have been awarded a total of 891 letters. Females have been awarded 294 letters, and males 597 letters. The specials, coach, administrator, or support person, inducted into the Hall of Fame span 90 years, 1924 to 2013, and represent a total of 393 years of service, an average of 19 years per special. In the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, there are 9 different types of Hall of Fame family combinations. 5 brother-brother combinations, Bolander, Garnica, Hoke, Bell, and Withrow. 2 sister-sister combinations, Bissinger and Kurz. 3 brother-sister combinations, Kiefer, Baker, and Fiden. 1 set of twins, Bell. 5 father-son combinations, Roush, Wagner, Kreitzer, Kiefer, and McVeigh. 1 father-daughter combination, Kiefer. 1 mother-daughter combination, Marquardt. 1 father-son-daughter combination, Kiefer. And 1 husband-wife combination, Norris. If you were counting, that makes 20 total family combinations. 2 from Fairmont, 16 from a combined Fairmont, Fairmont West, and/or Fairmont East, and 2 from Kettering Fairmont. The Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2022 will be the 23rd class inducted in the past 24 years. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a Hall of Fame class of 2021 was not inducted into the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame class of 2022 will include 4 athletes and 1 coach. It is now my honor and privilege to begin to introduce the members of the class of 2022. I will introduce each inductee and their respective presenter to the auditorium stage one by one. Jim Overholzer will be followed by Clint Rose, Coach Hank Bias, Aaron Wiedemann, and Tara Eldred. At the conclusion of each inductee's remarks, I will hand them a certificate signed by the mayor of the city of Kettering, commemorating this outstanding honor and accomplishment. Let's begin. Jim Overholzer, inductee number 162. Jim is the 4th member and 3rd male of the class of 1964, joining Rod Miller, Paul Gaffney, and Charlene Bowden. Jim will be presented by Chris Overholzer. Chris and Jim.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out today, and thank you, Mother Nature, for cooperating and letting us all have this little get-together. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for recognizing my dad, Jim Overholzer, and today's other honorees. And also a special thank you to Roger Bowser for helping make today run so smoothly. My family is just so proud and excited that Dad is being inducted into Fairmont's Athletic Hall of Fame. And not just because of his exploits on the playing field, but because Dad is Kettering through and through. Save for a few early years when he was a toddler and lived in Dayton, Ohio, and a few years that he was away at college, Dad's lived and participated in this community for nearly 70 years. He's organized every Fairmont class reunion for over 40 years and helps keep his friends and his classmates connected to this community. Lots of parents talk about living vicariously through their kids' sports exploits. I live vicariously through my dad's achievements throughout his youth sports. My grandma O was an amazing scrapbook keeper, and when we were over at their house on East Drive near Orchard Park Elementary, I would spend hours laying on the floor looking through my dad's scrapbook, looking at pictures of 5-year-old Jim with Santa, his perfect straight A's in 4th grade, and his perfect attendance and straight A's in 4th grade, and Rita's cotillion dance card. But I especially enjoyed reading about Dad winning the City League Little League Championship and how he and his teammates led a furious comeback against Middletown to tie 34-34 after being way behind at halftime his senior year. Imagine how excited I was when my first T-ball team at Delco Park was H&H Hardware, just like my dad's high school summer league team. As you can tell, I idolized my dad. Dad loved to share stories about being a kid with my brother Drew and I. The thing is, he loved to talk about playing basketball in Rod Miller's driveway and golf at Community just as much as he liked talking about that comeback against Middletown. What Dad shared with us was the importance of his friendships and their shared experiences together. Dad was not only a great athlete, he was also a natural leader both on and off the field. He was in student council right through his elementary years, up to being the class president in 1964. As much as I admired my dad for his sports feats, I've always been more impressed by him as a person. I can truly say that there is not anyone that I respect more for how they are with others. My dad never says a bad word about anyone, and he's the funniest person that I know without having a swear word in his everyday vocabulary. People love being around my dad. Dad isn't getting into the Hall of Fame just because he was a great football and baseball player. He's getting in because his teammates and classmates love him. As you can tell, I idolize my dad as much today as I did when I was that 7-year-old kid laying on the floor at my grandparents' house. For my family, thank you very much for this honor for my dad. My grandparents, Jake and Dora Overholser, my Aunt Vicky, along with my stepmother, Joyce, nephew Matthew and his parents, and my brother Drew are very appreciative that Dad is being recognized today. Hopefully I haven't taken too much of my dad's words away from him, but please let me introduce my father, Jim Overholser. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. My boys were wondering whether I would be provided with a riser so I could see over the lectern, but it seems to be okay. Initially, I'd like to congratulate my fellow Hall of Fame inductees. I've looked at your bios, and I'm really impressed. You richly deserve this honor. It's well deserved, and congratulations. I'd like also to thank the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee for considering my activities while I was at Fairmont. I know it's a very time-consuming process, and I deeply appreciate it. Also like to thank the Fairmont Athletic Booster Association for making today even more special. Also, goes without saying, thank you, Roger Bowser. You've been tremendous in guiding me and my fellow inductees through the process, with some of the challenges we've had recently. Roger's not only been a classmate who graduated with me, but he's been a longtime friend for many years. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that Roger's wife, Pam Bowser, taught Chris and my other son, Andrew, when they were in first grade at Southdale. And they had tremendous experiences there with her and speak very fondly of her still today. I'd also like to thank Phil Baker. Phil was my host today. Phil's been a longtime friend of mine as well, occasionally a golf playing partner. Everything I have learned, I think, at times from Phil about playing golf speaks to why I'm probably a 25 handicapper at this point. But we've had a lot of fun on the golf course. I'd like to thank also my friend Bryant Welch, who could not be here today. He submitted documentation and other information to the selection committee, as I understand it, for their consideration. My family today, I'd like to recognize Chris flew in from Los Angeles, Andrew flew in, my other son flew in from Jackson Hole, Matthew Bond, my grandson, drove up from Valdosta, Georgia. And last but not least, of course, my beautiful wife, Joyce, is here. She's been my wife now for 37 years. She's been my great supporter and my rock, and I greatly appreciate everything that she has done for me. I'm going to take a brief moment, to try to put today in context. In 1946, my mother and dad, for reasons that are still unknown, decided to purchase 3 real estate lots in Van Buren Township. And in 1950, they built a house on East Drive, just north of Dorothy Lane. We had been living at the time on Illinois Avenue in East Dayton. And had they not made the decision to build that house, I likely would have been in the Dayton school system, would never have had the opportunity to flourish in the Kettering school system. So it was just a stroke of good fortune that my mother and dad, for whatever reason, decided to move to Kettering. Kettering at that time was just exploding with population, and I switched schools, elementary schools, 4 times in 6 years. By the time I got to Fairmont, I knew so many people because of all the different schools I had attended. My mother and father were very supportive of me in my athletics. My mother in particular was very active in helping me start out my athletic career. When I was 8 years old, I asked her to take me to the Belmont Park where they had a summer league for Class F teams. We got to the park and registration had closed. I was greatly disappointed because that meant that I would not be able to play that summer and would have to wait another year. The man behind the registration desk was pretty adamant about the fact that I was late. My mother would not take no for an answer. She badgered him, wheedled him. He finally gave in, and he looked out into that field where there were about 8 to 10 teams practicing, and at random he just pointed to one. And so I went to that team that day and became a Delco Senator. Well, the Delco Senators were a special team. We won every game but one in our league. We then were entered into the City of Dayton Class F tournament for all the champions of the various Class F leagues. We kept winning, and we ended up winning the entire City of Dayton championship. And I've always thought back, if it had not been for my mother and her adamant refusal to take no for an answer, I would not have had that experience. It was such a tremendous start to my athletic career. From that point on, I played basketball, football, and baseball up through junior high school. And seeing Coach McVeigh's picture up here reminded me of a episode, a story. When we were in 9th grade, our baseball team did not have a coach. And Coach McVeigh volunteered to be our baseball coach. So as we're getting ready for the first game, Coach McVeigh calls us all together and he says, "No, I'm going to pitch Bob Abernathy for the first 3 innings, and then I'm going to pitch so-and-so for the next 3 innings." We go, "Coach, did you say innings or endings?" He said, "Endings." And we said, "Coach, it's innings." He goes, "Okay, for the first 3 innings, Bob Abernathy's going to pitch." And Coach McVeigh's, his enthusiasm, his sense of humor won the day. We ended up having a pretty good ball team and had a lot of fun that season and won our share of games. Once I got to Fairmont, we had spring ball, baseball as well as, of course, football. But in the spring, our baseball teams were okay. They weren't great. The first team that we had, we won about half of our games. And that summer, we played in the summer league, Class B league for all the high schools that participated. There were maybe 15 teams. Well, because our record wasn't that good in the spring, they put us in the weaker division, the American League. And we ended up winning the American League division. They put us into then a tournament against the National League teams. We won that one as well. So that first summer, we won the entire championship. The next summer, they knew better than to put us into the American League. They put us in the National League, and we won that tournament again. When we finished that summer, we had a choice of going to a national tournament in Pennsylvania, or we could start our summer football practice for our senior year. We had a choice by Coach Bob Hildreth, gave us that option. Well, there was no way we were not going to start our summer practice, our football practice. So we got ready for our first game. We had a sort of a new team. Our team from the year before was mostly dominated by seniors. Dave Fisher and Cal Withrow were on that team. So we had a lot of new faces, and we were a little unsure of how we were going to respond that season. The first game, as Chris mentioned, was against Middletown High School. Middletown had always had tremendous athletes, and this was no exception. The game was the game of the week on WHIO radio. It was highly anticipated. We played at Beaujon Field, which was University of Dayton's home field. There were 13,000 people, standing room only. The field was totally surrounded by our fans and Middletown fans as well. So after the game started, we were nervous. We weren't sure how we were going to perform, and we performed badly. At halftime, we were down 20-0. We'd fumbled the ball. We'd had penalties. I probably threw an interception or two. And we're sitting in the locker room wondering what's going to happen when we go back out there. Can we make adjustments to change the outcome of this game? I've been on a lot of teams, and many times what'll happen during a season, there'll be a turning point. And what we didn't know was that turning point was going to be that first game at halftime. Were we going to face that adversity or were we going to go the other way? We came out the second half and scored 5 touchdowns. One of the most exciting games I've been a part of, and we ended up tying Middletown 34-34. And we felt like we actually won that game. 2 weeks later, we came right back to that Beaujon Field to play a tough Chaminade team, and we put it to them pretty good. And with that, we were on a 7th game winning streak. So that game probably, that Middletown game probably made a big difference, at least in my career. Gave me a lot of confidence. When you're down, you don't give up. So basically, we ended up having a good season. We ended up co-champions of the league. And at that point, we then went on to the baseball season the next spring, and then we ended up graduating that spring. As has been mentioned, we had the very last Fairmont class. We had 800 in our senior class. And it was, quite we felt an honor to be the last Fairmont class as such. I'd like to close just by saying I'm humbled. I'm proud to be associated with this Fairmont's illustrious Hall of Fame group. And I'm very, very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and congratulations once again to Mr. Jim Overholser. Let's give him another round of applause, please. Our next inductee, Mr. Clint Rose, inductee number 163. Clint is the second member and first male of the class of 1988, joining Kathy Hulsman. Clint will be presented by Larry Lamb. Larry and Clint.
Thanks, Scott. Hello again. You can look at Clint Rose's bio in the program and you can see why he's here today. So I won't stand here and read his stats to you. During his career at Fairmont, he was an all-area receiver and co-MVP of the WOL in football, and he was an all-Ohio pitcher and first baseman in baseball. I had the great pleasure of coaching Clint in freshman baseball on a team that went 19-1. This was before Fairmont became a 4-year high school. So this was at Kettering Junior High. He was one of our 3 outstanding pitchers, and when he wasn't pitching, he played either shortstop or center field, 2 positions where you put your best athletes. He was also our cleanup hitter. He was on a team full of fine athletes and a team with a lot of solid leaders. Now, sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you got too many chiefs, too many alpha dogs, and they all fight each other to be in charge. Not on this team. Clint Rose was the undisputed leader on a team full of leaders. The ability to lead other leaders is a special quality. Both of Clint's high school head coaches are in this Hall of Fame, and both of them would be proud to be here to share this great day with him. Unfortunately, as Roger just said, Bob Chapman, his baseball coach, passed away this past year, and Doug Schmidt, Clint's football coach, lives in North Carolina and is unable to travel. I have communicated with Doug from time to time over the years since he moved out of the area, but it's been a while. So when I reached out to him via email to let him know that Clint was being inducted and to see if he wanted me to share anything on his behalf, I didn't know whether he would be in a position to reply or not. I was happy to hear back from his wife, Nancy, within a couple of hours. She said that Doug would respond with a few comments as soon as possible. And the next day, I received an email from him directed toward Clint, which I will read to you now. Congratulations, Clint, on being elected into the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame. I am honored to recommend you. Going way back, I am remembering a game with Stebbins when we were trying to score to win the game, and you made a miraculous, all in capital letters, catch to win the game. You were always inspirational, inspiring your teammates, and you would never give up. You were always a joy to coach. I have lost track of you, Clint, over the years, and would love to hear from you and about your accomplishments. My best to you, and again, congratulations, Coach Doug Schmidt. What a beautiful message from a mentor of mine that I respect tremendously to a mentee of mine that I respect tremendously. At this time, it is my great honor to present to you for induction into the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. Clint Rose.
Thank you, Coach Lamb. I feel like Tommy Bell's been up here. Let me raise this up. When Coach Lamb called me to tell me I was being inducted, of course I was honored, humbled, and he asked me, be thinking about who I wanted to read the words for me, and it was a no-brainer. And I said, you. He said, you sure you don't want to think about it? I said, absolutely not. Very rarely do you come across someone who you never hear anybody say anything negative about, especially being a coach. Coach Lamb, I've respected him ever since I knew him, and I appreciate the time. I appreciate the committee. I know they do this for free, so I know this year wasn't easy with the weather, so thank you everybody that had a hand in this. I'm gonna try to keep my comments short. I didn't write anything down, so if you see me walk off the stage, it's because I got nervous and forgot everything. So, Coach Lamb, like I said, I've got 3 coaches that coached me over the years that I hold near and dear in my heart. Coach is one of them. Mr. Bernie Baruti, probably one of the toughest coaches I ever had, and that was in basketball. For those of you that played football and you were in two-a-days or you just came off a loss and you know you're going to get your butts kicked in practice, you know that you wanted that last period to last forever. Well, that's kind of how it was when we had a basketball practice. Because I got hurt more in basketball with him than I did playing football. So, but he did it for a reason. He knew what he was doing and we respected him for it. And last was Coach Bob Chapman. I was very heartbroken when I heard that he passed. He was a different kind of coach. He wanted to win, but he was there for more than that. One story I told Coach Lamb in our interview, we had a foreign exchange student. I can't remember his full name. His name was Ray. He had no business being on the baseball team. He was horrible, but Coach let him be on the team. I remember one time I don't know if he pinch ran or got hit or something, but he played an inning. He was so happy to be on first base. He was smiling from ear to ear. He went to lead off, about 30-foot lead, and got picked off. Came back smiling, laughing. I'm thinking, what in the heck is this guy doing? So Coach was legally blind if you didn't know him. And sometimes he didn't have a ride home, and he'd just walk home. Well, I'd catch him in the parking lot, so I'd give him a ride. And I asked him, I said, Coach, why in the world is Ray on this team? And he made me pull my own car over. He said, stop the car. He slid next to me, got right in my face, and said, that boy will remember this the rest of his life. And that's what Coach Chapman was about. Some of the memories, I can't remember all the games we played, but some of the memories growing up, my first play of my junior year against Alter, I hadn't played football for a while. I met a guy by the name of Jeff Graham, super athlete at Alter, played football at Ohio State, and then went on to play in the NFL for 8 or 9 years. But it was a running play, and I had no part of it, but he hit me, knocked my ear pads loose, and for those of you that played football, if you got your ear pads knocked off, you got tattooed. And I was laying on the ground, he was standing over top of me, he hit me so hard, I puked in my mouth. And I thought, I'm not letting him see me spit this out, so I had to swallow it. And I thought, good Lord, they only had, at the time, they had 2 black kids on the team, one Tony Spencer and Jeff Graham. And I roomed with Tony at Wright State in baseball, and I thought the rest of that game, I couldn't remember what number it was, but I'm staying away from those 2 black guys. And when I told Tony Spencer that in college, I thought he was going to lose it. He about peed on himself. Had the pleasure of playing against one of the best baseball players that ever played the game, Ken Griffey Jr. I remember his senior year, we played him here. I pitched the first game, he didn't have a hit, but he hit one back up the middle, and if I didn't have good reflexes, I don't think I'd have any kids right now. So the second game, Chuck Willis was pitching, threw him 3 straight balls. I was playing first base, and I guess I said a little too loud. I said, come on, Chuck, throw this kid a strike. He ain't had a hit all game or all day. He threw him a strike. About 400 feet later, the ball landed. And Griffey Jr. came around first base, smiling. He said something to me. I had no idea what he said. His next 2 at-bats, he hit one just as far. So I guess a lesson to me, don't wake up a sleeping dog. Had the opportunity and the pleasure to play against Kirk Herbstreit. If any of you football fans watch TV, you know who Kirk is. Awesome athlete in high school. I think he was actually Gatorade Player of the Year in football his senior year. Went to Ohio State, played there, was the captain of a senior team at Ohio State. Also was MVP his senior year. People don't know that because they pretty much sucked that year, but pleasure playing against him, and also against David Bell, the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Played for the Cincinnati Moeller team. One last story, we were playing them in Cincinnati, and for those of you that aren't familiar, it's a family full of athletes. Gus Bell played for the Cincinnati Reds. His son, Buddy Bell, played for the Reds, and Buddy's son, David, is coaching for the Reds. So I remember Buddy was at the game that day, and we were tattooing everything they threw, and one of the parents was sitting close to him and said, man, all these guys do is hit doubles. So I thought that was kind of cool. So in closing, I'd like to thank my parents for giving me everything I need growing up, making sure I had whatever we needed, for being at every game. I think between me and my brother, we were always in a different city playing, but we could count on at least one of our parents to be there. Thank my daughter, Jordan. She was kind of mad at me this morning. She drove in from Kentucky, around the Louisville area, asked me earlier in the week, what time should I be there? And I said 10, so she got up very early only to find out she didn't need to be here till 1. So I'm sorry, baby girl. Thank you for my wife for coming. We live in Tennessee, so we came in, I guess, last night with my little boy. Thank you to my brother for being here. I can't see if anybody else, my friends, are here, but if you are, thanks for coming out. And once again, thank you. It's an honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry, and congratulations to Mr. Clint Rose. Coach Hank Bias, inductee number 164. Hank is the 21st coach inducted and 23rd special. He coached from 1989 to 2013. Hank will be presented by Jim Gray. Due to the winter storm and flight cancellations, Coach Bias, who presently resides in Arizona, was unable to be with us in person today. However, Coach Bias is joining us live via Zoom, along with his presenter, Jim Gray, via Zoom.
A couple months ago, I got a phone call late at night from Hank, and he said, Pete Rose isn't going to the Hall of Fame, but I am. So I thought that was very neat, and he asked me to be his presenter, which I'm thrilled to death to be. Unfortunately, I would like to be with you folks today. However, I am stuck due to the weather down here in Florida, where it's only 83 degrees. Hank always wanted to be another basketball coach. He kept telling me that he wanted to be one more coach basketball one more time. And fortunately for him and Kettering, he got the job here at Fairmont. A couple of the highlights that we had during Hank's time was beating another high school in Kettering in basketball several times. I forget the name of the other school, but it'll come to me sometime or another. Also, Fairmont was ranked in the Dayton Daily News basketball poll #1 a couple times, and that was a great feeling for us. Hank always had two favorite sayings that he would say. One is, just so you know. When I would come into the coach's office and Hank would say, Coach, just so you know, I know it was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. The other thing that Hank would always say is, we're just trying to get better every day. And I'm sure he's telling his team out in Arizona now the same thing. Hank was always there for the players. I remember in practice, he would be correcting a player. Well, I'll use a better term than what he was doing. He was yelling at this player. And 2 minutes later, I'd look down and Hank would have his hand on the player saying they were joking and laughing. Hank was responsible for one of the best days of my life with his connections with Dr. Gilmore at UCLA. Hank and I had the privilege of flying out to Los Angeles and spending the day with Coach John Wooden, the Hall of Fame basketball coach. Hank and I both really enjoyed that day, and Hank had a very good relationship with Coach Wooden. I would now like to present Coach Hank Bias. Henry is his first name. A lot of you probably didn't know that, but Coach Hank Bias for the Kettering Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jim. I don't see my picture on the screen yet, but I will go ahead and get started. I want to say, first of all, thank you to Jim for introducing me. Jim Gray, one of the most loyal assistant coaches that I've ever seen or had with me, and bleeds silver and blue for Kettering Fairmont. And a lot of people don't know this about Jim, that he served in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot that picked up wounded soldiers, and he knew what stress was. And when on the bench, if ever I was getting a little uptight, I would say, Jim, are we going to win this game? He goes, yeah, this is nothing. So I've loved my relationship with Jim and love him like a brother. But good afternoon to all that are in attendance. I want to thank everyone there and all those on the Hall of Fame committee, as well as all my former players and coaches who were a major part of my life for the last 42 years, 29 in Kettering, and I'm still coaching in Tucson, Arizona. Congratulations to all the other inductees that are being honored this year. I want to thank my wife and family and my extended family that are all watching today, as well as one of my nephews, Ben, who is watching this live stream from Israel. I'm also honored to join the Hall of Fame with two of my former players, Lamar Skeeter and Chris Rolfe. I think the best way for me to discuss my journey is to share a few highlights of my time and a few of my memories. My first memory was meeting Frank Sporich and Bill Stager, as well as Sherm Bowser, Fran Eden, and Jim Larson. I was a young teacher coach that was ready to take on the entire world. And the organized and detailed fashion of the athletic department was amazing to me. I was assigned to teach at Oakview Elementary, and I had one of the most incredible kid-centered supervisors I had ever seen in Bud Ruff. He knew every single kid's name coming in and out of the door. As a soccer coach, with the help of parent Tom Columbus and many other community soccer enthusiasts, we were able to organize clinics and initiate a youth soccer program that became the Kettering Renegades. And along came Tim Casey and Rick Robertson as they came to Kettering, in my opinion, created a new and higher standard for the entire athletic community. Both football and basketball programs became very strong. Mick Morgan increased parent involvement in all of our athletic teams and community involvement. And the department opened many doors for better communication. Fran Eden contributed in many ways throughout the years, but most importantly, kept the students and coaches aware of the academic progress of each athlete. Administrative assistant Johnny Schumacher made everyone's job easier. The athletic department became a friendly and professional setting that lasted for years. Our soccer program began to take off, and we became one of the strongest programs in the entire area. We caught up with the soccer powers and had an incredible WL championship and then district final championship at Centerville. I remember seeing a sign that said "Bias for President" as I was walking off the field that night. Coaches Del Grosso, Butchko, Carbonero, and Neely were an all-star coaching staff. Mark Weaver, one of our parents, contributed to the success of many of our players during the early years. And at that time, I returned to student status to receive my national United States Soccer Federation C&B license. In basketball, with the relentless help of Superintendent Menderink, Dave Westendorf, and Dave Roloff, we were able to create a recreational and youth basketball program. I will never forget an organizational meeting that included Dave Nogle and the late and great Greg Nelson, where they filled the air with support and ideas for moving full speed ahead. Menderink cleared the table so we would have little resistance. As the youth teams grew, so did the basketball team, and with the help of many coaches, players, and parents, we became one of the strongest programs in the area. I attribute this to our huge annual basketball camp and clubs developed. I'm awfully proud to see that many of our former campers became Firebird uniform wearers on Friday nights following my tenure. I am also very happy for the huge successes of coaches Albrights and now Moles as they followed me. It's a tough job that demands a tough individual. Gray, Ray, Finn, Holden, Weichel, Reed, Jackson, Rex, Moltz, Snyder, Byer, Sullivan, Jules and Steve Grasso, Dement, Anderson, Johnson were all committed as coaches to the excellence on the court. Named after a lifetime educator, Jim Trent, who truly cared about each and every teacher, parent, and student, Trent Arena opened and the Firebirds did not lose a home game for over a year and a half. We started making district final trips in expectation. Our district final years, 3 out of 4 in a row, were big seasons for us. I loved our huge student body cheering section and walking out to the Hank the Tank chants. Student manager Maddie Kaufman led us out of the locker room to the delight of the crowd in attendance and made an epic basket on senior night that no one, I don't think, will ever forget. Coach John Wooden became my mentor and then my friend, and even delivered the welcoming address at the opening game of Trent Arena on the video board. As one local coach said before the game and told me later, after seeing that message on the board, he knew there was no way Fairmont was losing that night. Coach Wooden changed my life in many ways. The support that Brian Donaher, Jim Shainline, and the entire district gave me during my sudden illness in 2010 gave me the resolve to show all that surrounded me that I would not allow any serious adversity stop me. I had to be what I had asked my students and players to be. My most rewarding experience, however, of all my time in Kettering City Schools was not on the court or the field. However, it was my time as instructor at the Kettering Alternative School. It was the most challenging coaching job of all. Teachers Christine Fine, Reed Faulkner, and Rob Fogg are frontline heroes, in my opinion. We lost a few of our Firebirds along the way, and it wounded us all very deeply. Ben, Kevin, Joey, Justin, and John. Coaches Dwight Anderson, Diane Schwab, John Durr, and Jim Larson. Community icons Jim Trent and Greg Nelson. All sorely missed, but a single white dove landed in Fairmont Park, showing us that they are always still with us. As a young kid growing up, I looked up to my high school coaches, Muro, Elliott, and Bean, a great deal, and I just wanted to be like them. In my time today, more than anything, I want to express that, as Lou Gehrig said in his farewell at Yankee Stadium, I am the luckiest man on this planet. I never considered it work and loved every minute of it. Unfortunately, I no longer remember all of the games or the scores, but I do remember all of the people and teachers that were a huge and large part of my life and success for 4 decades. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and congratulations to Coach Bias. Go enjoy that sunny, warm weather in Florida and Arizona. Aaron Wiedemann, inductee number 165. Aaron is the first member of the class of 1999. Aaron will be presented by Rick Armstrong. Rick and Aaron.
Thank you. I want to congratulate all of the inductees for your honors. Hank, it's good to see you again. I'm here to talk about a young lady over here, Erin Wiedemann. Most people don't know her as Erin. Her nickname is Weedy. I don't know who gave her that nickname. I don't know if I had anything to do with it, but I've known Erin for a long time. I had Erin in gym class when she was about this high, and her favorite activity was flying around the gym on those scooters. Weedy would get on those scooters, she'd fly off, run into the wall, hop off, back on the scooter, cross the gym again. That was her favorite activity. Erin here at Fairmont also played soccer, and she was a basketball player. Lettered in both of those sports, but her primary sport was softball. Erin came to a softball program the first year that we had freshmen. Erin's one of the few girls that played softball for 4 years. Lettered, played, started all 4 years. In fact, Erin started every game in her career. Erin was the kind of player, practice, she led by example. We'd come into practice, go through a drill, and she'd be flying, sliding across the floor, going after the ball. She'd get up, hop up, get back in line. She wanted a challenge again. Hit that ball a little further. Hit it a little further, boom, she'd get the thing. I couldn't stop her. She was a great leader with the girls. Erin didn't realize all the records that she has here in softball, and I know it's in your program and that, but Erin was the kind of person that she didn't want to walk. She hated it when someone walked her. A single, she was disappointed with that. She wanted a double, a triple. She always looked to get to next base. You know, if you look through her stats there, you know, she's second for the most hits in a season. She's second for most hits in her career. She's second for most doubles here at Fairmont. She's first in most triples in a season. She has the third highest batting average, which is, better look at that, 479 for a ball player at Fairmont. She's first in stolen bases in a season. She's first in career stolen bases. She's first in most runs scored. She's first in most runs scored in a season, 148. That's 50 more than the next person. Erin always was looking to take that next base. Here's a little story about Erin to give you an example of what I'm talking about. We're playing in Springfield North. You know, we're going to win the league. It's a good game. We're ahead a little bit. Erin gets on first base. I think she was a little mad because the girl walked her, and we don't like that. But Erin's over there on first base, and, you know, she's ready to go. I'm not going to name the batter who was behind her because that person, well, she missed the signal twice, and you'll find out in the story here. Erin's on first, ready to go. The batter's up, hits the ball, foul ball. Where's Erin? Standing on second base. Got to go back to first, Erin. Next pitch. Pitch throwing, batter swings again, boom, foul ball. Erin, back to first base. All right, third pitch. Batter hits the ball, line drive, it's going in a gap. Erin's off and running. She's taking off for second base. Where am I? I'm down here coaching third base, okay? All right, Erin hits the second base bag. I'm watching the balls coming in. Uh-oh, Erin's coming to third. I'm standing there like this. Anybody know what that means? Well, we'll find out. All right, Erin's halfway to third. Ball's coming in. Erin's going full speed. I'm standing there, yep, going like this. All right, Erin comes into third base. She's not slowing down at all. She hits third base, and she's headed for home. Yep, I'm still standing there like this. There goes Erin. All right, I look down at the catcher. That catcher was huge. Erin, she's little. Boom, Erin's flying for home. Uh-oh, the catcher stood up. I thought she was huge then. She stood up. It was like one of those eclipses. The sunlight was blocked out. And Erin's still going, full speed. All of a sudden, boom, dust is flying. You know, where's Erin? Somewhere on the ground. Erin hit that catcher so hard, she didn't even move. We go out there, I'm looking, heading towards home, see if she's hurt. Their trainer is already at home plate. He came out on one of those little meat wagons or carts. You had to pick up Aaron. We load Aaron on a cart. Trainer says, "What do you want me to do with her?" I says, "Well, take her down to the training room, clean her up, put ice on her. I'll come get her and take her home later." All right. Game's over. We win the game. We're headed down the hill, get on a bus. We're loading stuff in a bus. The girls are like going nuts. You know, what's all this noise? I look, coming up the sidewalk is Erin. She's got an ice pack in one hand, and she's skipping away, just coming up there, just as happy as can be, coming up. And they're all cheering. Here comes Weedy, you know. All right, I couldn't believe it, but Erin played all out, 100% all the time. She was two-time All-State player. She was MVP her senior year. She went on to play at the University of Dayton. And Weedy was a ball player that she played with a great attitude. And she gave her best effort every time out. And that's all you can ask is attitude and effort. And I want to introduce to you one of my favorite ball players, Erin Wiedemann. Weedy?
Short girl problems. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Roger Bowser and the Hall of Fame committee. I appreciate the correspondence through this process and the bad weather. I would like to, however, say you guys should lead with the fact that we have to do a speech before we accept our nominations. Thanks, Emily. I tried to take it back, but she wouldn't let me. So here I am. I'd like to thank Emily Nelson for her work in helping to convince the committee that I'm deserving of this honor. I honestly never thought that anybody thought of me like that, so that's pretty cool. And also for not getting upset when I thought she was a scammer when she tried to contact me. I'd like to thank my soccer coach, Bethany Vosberg, and my basketball coach, Pat Miller. I was decent in those sports as I lettered in both of those, but anybody who knew me back then knew that softball was my strong suit as well as my passion. I'd like to thank my coach, Coach Rick Armstrong, for all his guidance through my high school career, but honestly, Mr. Armstrong was guiding me before. Like he said, he was my gym teacher when I was 6 years old at Greenmont. And then I remember him in 7th grade coming to our junior high tryouts and just making me nervous as all get out. Then I remember doing our grounder practice, and there was a ball hit across the floor, and I go all the way across the floor and pick up that line drive and throw it, and I knew his eyes were on me at that point as a 7th grader. And then in 8th grade, I decided to move to catcher out of nowhere. I caught that whole season, and he would come out to pitcher and catcher practice and kind of scout the team. Then during my freshman year, prior to softball, you know, I was in soccer and basketball. He would see me in the hallways and make sure that I was going to go to pitcher and catcher practice. By this time, I decided I wasn't going to be a catcher. We had a senior catcher, and that wasn't going to be my spot. That wasn't going to be my strong suit, so I wasn't going to go to those practices. He was very persistent. Every time he saw me, he would make sure that I was coming to those practices. So by the time the preseason started, I went to those practices in my mind, stomping my feet the whole way. But it panned out for me. I wasn't supposed to catch, and I never was going to catch. But come the first game of the season, our senior catcher was hurt, and I ended up starting my career as a freshman catcher, which was extremely nervous. It wasn't looked highly upon, me being a starting freshman on the varsity team, but there was, a few people that took me under their wing and said that it doesn't matter, your game is good enough. So after that game, our catcher, she got better. I moved on to second base where I had been, and I spent every inning of every game for the rest of my career. I'd like to thank my teammates and their parents. If it wasn't for my teammates, most of the time I wouldn't have been to practice or to the games. I often got rides from their parents and got to stay in hotel rooms with them for free during tournament time and stuff like that. I'd like to thank my wife and my daughter for their love and support and putting up with the consequences of such a career. But mostly, I'd like to thank my grandma and my grandpa. For those who know me, I was raised by my grandparents, and I didn't have a lot of the physical support as far as my parents being at games because they were older and they didn't have the health to do that. When I was younger, they would come, but once I got into high school, no one ever really knew how good I was or got to see me really play. But I appreciate them for putting me into ball when I was 5. I remember when I was in T-ball and stuff like that, I would, you only get to play 1 game a week because that's how it's set up. So come game day, if the weather was bad, I would just pray and pray and pray that it wasn't going to rain and it wasn't going to be rained out. And then if it did, I would cry. I'd just be crying. Lightweight in high school, it was like that too. I would just pray for a game not to be rained out, but we got to make up those games. So that was pretty cool. But I appreciate, my grandparents for putting up with all the different sporting adventures. Soccer, my grandma hated that I played soccer just because I tend to get hurt, and she didn't want me to not be able to play softball. So, and the same with basketball, but they allowed me to do it and, took me everywhere I needed to be. But mostly I appreciate them for, giving me the drive to know that my future was in my hands. From a very young age, I was told that college is not an option, but you're responsible for that. Not that they wouldn't want to help me, but, raising grandchildren, finances sometimes isn't the best, and it was known to me that I wasn't going to go to college unless I got myself to college, so I worked hard in academics and my sporting to do so. I appreciate them for, teaching me that good grades, good attendance, and a good behavior was expected, and that giving up was not accepted. They taught me to work hard in school and all of my extracurricular activities, and that drive and the love for the game has got me here today. So again, I thank everybody.
Thank you, Rick, and congratulations to Miss Erin Wiedemann. To all the Hall of Fame members who are with us this afternoon, immediately after the induction of our newest Hall of Fame class, we'll be asking you to come to the auditorium stage to be part of the pinning ceremony and group picture of the newest inductees. Tara Eldred, inductee number 166. Tara is the 3rd member and first female of the class of 2001, joining Chris Rolfe and Kenny LaCrone. Tara will be presented by Barb Charsky. Barb and Tara.
Bright. Congratulations to all the new members here today. Special thanks to Roger Bowser for keeping us posted on the what, where of this wonderful event. What an honor it is to stand here and tell you about Tara Eldred Orr. When Tara was a freshman, Bob Carl, then the head track coach, asked me to help out with the distance and middle distance parts of the girls' track team. I'd been helping my husband with cross country, so that kind of fit right in. For those of you not familiar with track, think of the track as 400 meters, 1 lap. Middle distance is 800 meters or 2 laps. Distance running is 1 mile and 2 miles is 8 laps. Tara could do them all. Not many girls could, or boys for that matter. I had a terrific group to work with. Put together, we had 4x8 or 32 relay. My core group, and you might recognize some of these names, was Jessie Ireland, Emily Huseman, Tara Eldred, and we had several different girls for the 4th redder. They won the 4x8 in the WOL at that time, their senior year. Tara was a member of the 4x8 relay team, which placed both in district and regional for 3 years. She ran the anchor because she had the fastest time. I talked with Emily Huseman. I don't even know what her married name is, but it's Emily Huseman to me. And she talked to Kim Bowser about Tara, and I asked them what their best memories were. They said she always made it fun. She provided a lot of motivational soundtracks for the music to work at. And she said one time Tara had the idea of running bent over to see if it was more aerodynamic. It wasn't, but they tried it anyway. She was a joy to be with and a very hard worker. This talented young lady had the third fastest 3,200 meter time, which is 8 laps in school history, and one of the fastest times in school history in the 1600. While at Fairmont, Tara received 11 varsity letters, 4 in cross country, 4 in track, and 3 in swimming. She swam the longest races, which most either could not do or didn't want to do. In cross country, she was not only the WL champ in '99 and 2000, but the district champ in girls cross country. Tara's performance helped lead the team to regionals for 4 years of her career. She also qualified for state in '99 and 2000. She holds one of the top 10 times in school history for cross country, which, if you don't know, is 3.1 miles. Tara was voted the best female athlete of her class in 2001. The Dayton Daily News named her twice as Athlete of the Week, and she was nominated for the Ray Burek Award, naming her one of the area's top female athletes. This same perseverance and attitude was found both on and off the field. She earned an athletic scholarship to Eastern Kentucky University, where she graduated in 2006. She continued to stay active in running competitively in local races. In 2014, she joined the Air Force, what is it, Tara? Air Force something? Yeah, the United States. That's good enough, she says. Reserves. At the end of the basic military training, she was awarded the prestigious Warhawk Award, a distinction given to the best overall male and female in the boot camp. Fellas, on the physical tests that they had to take to get these awards, she ran 1.5 miles in 10:15. Now this is at age 30 too. In 1 minute, she did 63 push-ups. I want you guys to go home and try this. And in 1 minute, she did 60 plus sit-ups. And there were about 300 girls doing this. She was number 1. Today, she's known as Mrs. Orr. She has a wonderful husband, a beautiful daughter, and 2 adorable little boys, so I'm sure she's keeping up with her running. I haven't heard one thing from them, so they must be doing all right. I'm proud of her accomplishments and really honored to be able to say that Tara Eldred Orr is my friend. And I don't know why I'm crying. And now a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Okay, I'm gonna try really hard not to cry. That's not usually my forte though, so I apologize ahead of time. I want to thank, first off, the Hall of Fame committee. Receiving that phone call was very humbling and inviting me to be part of the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame. I am honored to be part of such a prestigious group of members. It's gonna start. I want to thank my parents and siblings who are, especially those in attendance today. Now that I have children of my own, I often wonder if a competitive spirit is something taught or that you are born into. Without a doubt, in our house growing up, it was a little of both. My drive to be the best I could be started with my family. Competition, hard work, and teamwork were all factors in the Eldred household growing up. I remember every time I had a goal for myself, I'd make a bet with my dad. Whether it was breaking a school record or qualifying for state, I found myself extremely motivated by this extra competition with him. I really think that those were the few times he didn't mind losing. I was very lucky to have a family that supported not only me, but all of us. There wasn't a meet that my family missed. Competition is so much more than winning. My parents taught us the importance of a team, being part of a team, and supporting each other and sportsmanship. I want to thank my coaches. They each were a special part of my life and left impacts I am forever grateful for. From my first coaches, the Sharskis, that taught me that it was okay to achieve my individual goals while also being part of a team. To Coach Carl, who taught me school pride by having us sing the fight song every time the bus arrived back from a meet. To Coach LaValle, who allowed me to be a silent leader, and to the always motivating Coach Hippenmeyer, who believed in me enough to swim the 500 meter, although I don't think anyone was actually volunteering to. I will forever be grateful for their time and dedication to helping mold me into the person I am today. To my teammates, who were more than teammates, they were my best friends. Thank you for the memories that I truly cherish. From pasta parties to bus rides to tears and laughter, you were all part of it. And lastly, I want to thank my husband. I knew he was a keeper when I convinced him to sign up for a marathon and train with me. Thank you for being my teammate in life. Thank you for our beautiful family and continuing to find ways to help feed my competitive spirit. Thanks.
Thank you, Barb, and congratulations to Ms. Tara Eldred. At this time, will all Hall of Fame members, excluding the class of 2022, form a line on the auditorium stage so that you may greet and congratulate the newest Hall of Fame members after they are pinned on stage. Hall of Fame class of 2022, when I call your name, please make your way to the stage. Before you do, you'll be greeted by Hall of Fame committee members Emily Nelson and Kara Hicks, who will be doing the pinning. And then if you would make your way to the stage where you'll be congratulated by each Hall of Fame member in attendance, and then find a seat on stage, followed by a group picture. So we'll begin with Jim Overholzer, class of 1964. Clint Rose, class of 1988. Coach Hank Bias, 1989 to 2013. Coach, we will ensure that we get you your pin and certificate. We'll make sure we get that to you in Arizona. Thank you, Coach. Aaron Wiedemann, class of 1999. And Tara Eldred, class of 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2022. All right, I think we're ready for our group photo. We've got our official photographer here. If you also at this time want to take some photos, please do so at this time. One more round of applause. One more, please. Thank you. You are more than welcome to stick around and celebrate these inductees. The celebration continues this evening when each inductee will be honored and recognized at halftime of the Fairmont boys basketball game between number 1 state-ranked Centerville and number 4 state-ranked Fairmont. Once again, on behalf of the City of Kettering, Kettering City Schools, the Fairmont Athletic Department, and the Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame, thank you for coming to the 23rd Annual Fairmont Athletic Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. We look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you, and go Firebirds!